So, do you speak Norwegian too?
Yes.
Okay, so hyggelig å treffe dere.
Oh, so nice to meet you too.
Yes, and Poliana, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think this is so exciting.
They have questions for you, so I'm gonna let them go ahead and ask.
Okay,
Your video froze. Okay, now it's back on.
okay, yeah.
Where are you from and where do you live now?
Okay, I'm from Brazil, originally from São Paulo. That's where I am now. So if you like the news, our forecast for today will be 35 degrees Celsius positive. But it's only 10:30 in the morning, so it's about 28.
Okay. So the next question we have is, what's your job is?
Yes, I am actually graduated in history, but I've taught English almost my entire life. So yes, that's what I'm doing today, apart from some other kinds of work like editing and proofreading and writing. Writing is one of my passions too.
Yeah, we wondered what you studied.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
What did you study?
I studied history in the University of São Paulo. That's where I got my master's degree as well in social history and in British Empire at that.
We were just wondering, what are the pros and cons in your profession?
All right, so could you repeat that, please?
What are the cons and pros of your profession?
Okay, if I understood well, you are asking me if I ever lived in Norway, which I did.
No, she's asking what are the pros and cons of your job?
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, the pros are, I think there are more pros than cons. So I get to work my own hours. So I decide the hours I work. I get to meet lots of different people from many walks of life and many areas of expertise. And no, disadvantages, I don't think there are any. Well, apart from sometimes the thing of getting a little rushy, yeah, but I think that I can deal with that.
So now there's a couple of things that they came up with all of this before. I didn't give them any background on you or anything. I just told them we had a guest and I had them prepare the questions.
Okay.
So some of the questions may be a little off, but I'm really excited to see what you have to say to them to that, because they came up with that themselves.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. I also had a question. Do you believe in a God?
No. For a long time now, I've been an atheist, and I've thought it through. But my first atheist thought was when I was 10, and that was my first communion. So I'm born to a Catholic family. So I was in this thing of first communion. They dressed me up like a little bride to go there and get my first communion. And at that day, I remember so clearly, I had my first atheist thought. I didn't know, of course, it was an atheist and feminist at that, but yes, later on, I discovered that.
So we're talking a lot about different things that are going on in the world, especially in English-speaking countries. And this month we're doing Black History Month. So I want you to tell us what you think about that and the equivalent holiday, if I should say, that we have in Brazil. How would you compare it to that? And what do you think about these things?
Oh, yes. I think it's a huge progress that we are talking about it. so openly these days. I grew up studying in a very dark period here in Brazil during the military period, where every kind of free expression was forbidden, and even more questioning ethnicities and these kind of things. So in the past 40 years, I think that Brazil and the US have gone through very radical changes. And since, for example, Martin Luther King in the 60s to Obama as president, I think this really shows the radical changes that North and South American societies have gone through. So much so that here in São Paulo we have the Black Freedom holidays, or if you would prefer, Black Lives Matter holidays on the 20th of November. So I think it's really positive that we are talking about this, that we are raising the questions and raising our flags on this area.
We have been discussing lots of different things regarding Black history in general, but we're trying to do an uplifting thing with this.
Okay.
Very, very positive, because all of these they have about all the oppression, the slavery, so much so that when I talked about Black History Month, somebody said to me, "Oh, we really have to talk about all of those people getting killed." And it's not just about that. So just last week we talked about music, and you would be surprised, probably not because you have lived in Norway before, but how much they know about pop music from the US, from different countries, and how much they know about Black entertainers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really uplifting. But one thing that we have talked about is how we have this thing that nobody wants to talk about. What is like when people go, "Oh, why can't we have White History Month," for example? What do you have to say about that kind of mentality?
Well, very strict, because if we count the colonization of the Americans, some 500 years, I've never seen any respect before the freedom of slavery. I've never seen any slave owner speak out against slave system before the abolitionist movements that occurred in the 19th century after 400 years of colonization and slavery. So I do think that celebrating the dominant part, the Victorians, not Victorians, but Victor's history, would be a little against the purpose here, because it's been white privilege, it's been European colonization and genocides all over the world for more than 500 years. So I think it would be going a little against all these movements that we are going through of awareness for the peoples who were massacred during this period.
Okay, I want you to ask more questions. They're very talkative. Go ahead.
Isa?
Yep.
Oh. How is it like in the different places that you have lived? Where do you think it's best to live, and what was your experiences?
Okay. I've lived in Brazil and I've lived in Norway for almost 3 years, yes. But apart from that, my father was a person who loved traveling. So I've traveled to pretty much everywhere, except Somalia, probably. So I have experienced many things. And just like Poliana, I have been to Australia, New Zealand, and the US. Norway is a very good country to live. When I came back, I always take Norway as a standard to make changes in my country, because I think that your focus on social well-being, on people, is one of the best lessons I have ever learned. So whenever I vote here, whenever I adopt any cause, it's always to make my country go a little closer to Norway. So I'm very grateful to the Norwegians for having received me for 3 years, and where I learned a new way of life that I could bring back to Brazil and maybe change my society too.
And when you were living here, that's when we met. You were living here.
Yeah.
Did you think that the language, because I know that she speaks Norwegian way better than me.
Yes,
She
I've
already
forgotten a
could
little
speak
now, I'm
it
sorry.
in just a few years. But did you think the language when you were learning Norwegian, did English help you in any way?
Absolutely, absolutely, because Norwegian and English have a few structures that are common. Like, for example, the comparatives and superlatives, the structure of the present perfect is the same. And the verb tenses also are the same. So you have one word for every person in Norwegian and in English. So this helped me make a bridge between English, Portuguese English, and Norwegian.
I was just telling this class and all of my classes how in Brazil, not everyone learns English and they have such a tremendous opportunity here. And it's a very small percentage. I believe it's less than 10% of the
Yes.
population who speak English. And I probably know everybody who does speak English in Brazil are friends of mine. Because I've always been very connected with people that can. So how has that been for you, knowing English? How has that broadened your horizons and made your life easier, and tell us about your experiences with EFL?
Okay. First off, my father was not Brazilian. He passed away in 19, and he was from India, but he'd studied in British schools, so we spoke English and Portuguese at home. And because of that, my colleagues at school would always ask me to help them with their assignments in English and to study for the tests. And also, I think that that's where my ESL began, actually. And this has helped me, of course. I make a living from it today. And everything I do is in English. If I write in English. If I think in English. And if I have to do any research on the internet, I do it in English because it's how I will get the best results. This has even been helping me to compose my training and meet my aims at the gym too. So I think that English has been so much a part of my life that I cannot separate me from the English.
So I'd like you to tell these guys about your writing, because Lisa is an author.
Oh,
I'd like
okay.
She's a published author, but just can you tell them?
Of course, of course. Just a little second. Not am I only going to tell you about my books, but I'm going to show you them. So a little here. So 2 of my books that I have published in English, and a third one too. You can find me on Amazon. Sorry, Poliana, I'm advertising myself here. No problem. I think it's not a problem. I hope. Yes. So
I want you to tell us where you draw your inspiration, because
Okay.
I have read some of your books from before, and you write the type of thing that you will read it and you'll be like, damn, I wish I had written that. I like how you express yourself, and where do you draw your inspiration?
From everything, really. One of my books, The Slave Bride, was it's my background as in India, and once I heard a story about a girl who had been sold into a family to marry one of the guys, and she was terribly ill-treated. So I thought that telling this story was very worth it. Because I would be talking about the condition of women in India. I would be talking about the gender gap that they have there. And I would be putting out there a little of this voice that I think it's very important for people to listen to.
So we're approaching, let me see, 15 something minutes. Do you have any more questions? Because I know you we prepared a little bit, but without knowing who you were, so I'm wondering if they have things that they want to ask.
Maybe why you came to Norway? Was it for work or like?
Yes, could you speak up a little, please?
Why did you come to Norway? Was it for work or was it?
It was because I got married to a Norwegian who'd lived here in Brazil for 5 years, and he also spoke Portuguese. So I met him here while giving classes. He was also an English teacher here in Brazil. And then after long consideration, I decided to go to Norway and get married to him. Unfortunately, the partnership didn't go ahead, and then I came back to my family's bosom.
But that's the thing about the Brazilian family, which is not uncommon for people to live with their families, even if they're older. Or I remember people saying to me when I was growing up, "Oh, okay, so when you get married, you move out. So it's expected that you stay, and it's expected that you always come back." It is a Brazilian thing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the family unit here is our base. Yes, for example, I go to my mother's for Sunday lunch every week, and whenever possible, we go out as a family, and we include my mother. She's 77, almost 77. In everything that we do, if we go to bars, if we go to restaurants, if we travel, we take her along. We don't want her to be alone. So the family unit is a very is a fundamental for us here in Brazil.
More questions, girls?
I have a question. Which one of your books is your favorite?
Okay. Well, shall I say the last? It's the book, it's called The Opium of Life, and it is set in Afghanistan during the US occupation. And in this story, it's about a girl of 9 years old who is forced to marry a man of 60. And she will fight against the life people set for her. And so you have lots of adventures in the book and so on. And this was another story that I thought important to talk about child brides and in the Islamic world.
And this is something that is very current nowadays.
Yes,
like people, it is very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about being a feminist, and this is also very big here in Norway. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, my feminism went through several phases. Yes, I am a rebel at heart, so feminism sounds just like the thing for me. And Brazil is a very sexist country still, and so for me it was very important. But in Norway, I learned a lot about the women's status and how higher it is compared to Brazilian women. And this is another thing that I learned and I brought back to Brazil. And today I vote for feminists and BLM candidates. And I always raise my voice because I think that women have gone through a very rough period in the last, for example, 10,000 years. So we deserve to be a little more well treated from now on.
Absolutely rising above, eh?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any more questions, ladies?
I don't think so.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for this, and it's been amazing, and it's interesting that I hear your voice now when we're talking, and it feels like you never left. But it's been quite some time since we've seen each other. You left in 2000.
Yes.
The last time I saw you was when you came to visit. I think it was 2008.
Exactly. So
Yes.
it's been a while, yeah. But we never lost contact. And I think that our friendship is a little more than the physical thing, yeah. We are
So
always
still,
yes.
absolutely. So yeah, please stay in touch, and thank you so very much for this, girls. Say goodbye.
Thank you.
Tusen tack. Ha det bra.